Before we do anything else, Spring Hill was a mighty good town for knowing your neighbors. So if you don't know the person sitting next to you on your right, I want you to turn to that person and introduce yourself. And if you do know the person, then just ignore them.
Tell her your seat's over here.
President of the library, the Spring Hill Genealogical and Historical Society, right, Betty?
Yep.
Okay. And the library, of course. I'm really pleased that y'all are here. This has become a regular event, as many of you know, and it's a very special event, particularly to incorporate some of our relative newbies and some of our relative, I don't want to call them oldies, because really old. So out of curiosity, how many people have been here for 40 plus years? How many people have been here for 30 plus? Less than 20? Less than 10. And I'm not going into any smaller numbers. That is a wonderful mix to have. We have a lot to learn from each other. I want to touch base a little bit. You see the pictures of the library around. Some of you have seen the 50-year celebration. This library was in existence when we were a town of 1,200 people. This is our fourth location. Some of the locations in the back, some of you might recognize Jimmy's Cleaners. Some of you might recognize the little white store on Main Street. And some of you will not recognize the first building because it's no longer there. But it was a citizen initiative, and it still is. What you see on the right are drawings from patrons of the library when we asked them to draw the library of their dreams. Because we're working on the library of your dreams. So a couple things I want to mention. If you're not a member, if you don't have a patron card for the library, get one. I suspect many of you do. If you're not a member of the Friends group, please join. And if you don't want to be a member of the Friends group, but you have books that you would like to donate, that will help support their operations that support the operations of the library. The Spring Hill Genealogical and Historical Society, I think that's way too long. We're going to come up with something. It's something that's been breathed new life into. And they meet on the
First Tuesday of the month.
It's some of these same hoodlums that you see up here, but it's a wonderful way to connect with Old Spring Hill. The other thing I want to mention, because we've just kicked it off in the last year, is the Spring Hill Library Foundation. We are working with the city in a public-private partnership to get a new library built. So, if you have any inclination to contribute or participate, Dana or I can answer any questions on that. It's a really important joint venture. It's really important that with a city of roughly 70,000 now, that we have a space that is not only honors the library as a space, but is also a gathering space. So we can do things like this and not feel like you have to sit next to your neighbor. It would be nice if you had like a chair in between or something, right? Okay. Housekeeping. Please silence your phones if you haven't done it already. Restrooms. Straight down this hallway and to the right. We are going to ask that you hold questions until the end, and we're going to pass out some index cards that you can write questions on, and Dana or I will collect them at the end of the row, and then we'll present them.
Right now, those index cards are at each of the tables with pictures on them, and there are pencils there. If you want, I will bring one to you. It's just hard to hand them out. The group is big.
Also important, if you have not seen this book, the first book that the Friends of the Library put together about 30 years ago now was a book called Everyone Has a Story, because everyone indeed does have a story. This is a recent publication, second printing, a pictorial history of Spring Hill. They're for sale for $30. Well worth it. You're going to see structures that are long gone, and you're going to see structures that you go, oh, that's what that was. All of the proceeds go to support the library.
We also are in the process of reprinting Everybody Has a Story, just as you saw it. It looks almost identical, thanks to Carol and Jet. So that will be back in print as well.
Okay.
Can I say something about panels?
Huh?
Panels?
Yeah.
Okay. So you banners here on these 3 tables, one in the back, one on each side. Those used to be on our wall, courtesy of Applebee's who framed them for us. If you ate there, you know how that happened. They have been replaced by a series of panels that are what I was calling earlier the cliff notes of our book. So on the far wall over there before you leave, come check them out. It's churches, cemeteries, not cemeteries, that's in the book, agriculture, businesses, homes, and we're working on schools. That was just 2 tough decisions on what to not include. So we have to have a meeting about that. So come check them out.
So part of the reason that we came up with this panel is actually based on historical society meeting, and Tom was asking questions about, how did you get your milk transported, and when did you get electricity, and it dawns on you that in the 40 years since GM announced, there's been obviously a tremendous amount of growth at a pace that I don't think God himself could have predicted, frankly, and that's made a lot of changes. But there's still a lot of the threads of Spring Hill, the values of Spring Hill that made this a really tight-knit community then that are still there. We may not know all of your faces, but we want to know all of your neighbors, right? I've had people come out to my farm, which is a whopping 2.5 miles west, and go, we didn't know there were farms out here. I'm pretty sure Mr. Campbell's heard the same thing, right? It's important that we share our history of where we're coming from. We can't change where we're going necessarily, and we may or may not like it. We may or may not like sitting in traffic that Margaret just sat in, but it's important that we know what that background is and that we recognize there are still threads of that background. So Tom very kindly offered to moderate, which means I get to sit down and shut up, believe it or not. So I'm going to turn it over to Tom, and he's going to do an intro of the panel. I personally want to thank each of you that are on the panel because we put out the call and y'all responded. It would have been far easier to say no or ATLL no, but you didn't. So I'm leaving you in the safe hands of Tom.
Just like that?
Just like that.
Okay. Well, I think we need, for some, particularly for those of us who are not native Spring Hillians, we need to know our panel. So would you please, let's start far in here, identify yourself and give 2 or 3 sentences about what your connection is to Spring Hill. Were you born here? Were you the blacksmith? Whatever.
Probably more appropriate to say black sheep.
I'm not going to touch that.
All right.
Go ahead.
I'm Danny Allen. I live on Hurt Road. My grandparents were Haskell and Hassie Taylor. And we arrived in Spring Hill in about 1948. I was in the 1st grade. My mom and dad helped them move from up in DeKalb County. The reason that Papa and Granny had to come down here is because they built, Corps of Engineers built Center Hill Lake. And because it was completed in about 1948, and all our families, and I mean lots of people up every hollow had to move. I have a great book at home called Under the Lake, and it shows every parcel of Center Hill Lake and what families owned it. They have pictures of them. It's a fascinating book. They're, I think, sold out, but you can find it in Smithville's library. They have a very active library system too. So here we come in 1948. Mother had looked a long time and taken Papa in an old Hudson she had, looking for property. And finally, she found this property and bought it from William and Nell Kennard. William's brother Marvin lived just beside the farm, and there had been a big fire at the house there. The old house, the, I guess, plantation-style house, 2-story, had burned down. They had salvaged enough lumber out of it to rebuild pretty much the house. I can recall seeing unfinished rooms with charred 2x4s that were forming up the rooms. And they're still in the house there today, but covered up better. Now, mom and dad at that time, like a lot of Tennesseans, were living in Detroit. And so the war was over. Dad had been in the war. Mama had been Rosie the Riveter, that kind of thing. And the dam was getting built. They had to move out. So they found the farm for them, got them moved. And Papa didn't have a truck. He didn't have a car. He didn't have a tractor. What he had was, he had some mules, had a gelding bay named Bill, and that was it. My first day at school, mom and dad, by the way, they didn't stay. They had to take a GI course in Philadelphia, and they said, son, we'd like for you to stay with Granny and Papa because we don't want to take you to another big city. And so if you'll stay with them, we'll get you that bike you've been wanting. That was a no-brainer. I'll take the bike.
And you took Spring Hill as well when you did it.
The first day at school, I want to tell you about my first day at school. My papa saddled up old Bill, put a tow sack behind the saddle, got me up there and we rode down Duplex 2 miles to the schoolhouse. Well, we approached the schoolhouse and there were kids out in the front on slides and swings, and they just froze. They didn't know what to do. And I slid off. He took me inside, signed me up with Miss Rose's class. We all remember Miss Rose, and then arranged me to have a ride with Miss Warren, who was a 6th grade teacher, and I could ride from then on. He built me a little shelter at the end of Hurt Road, right there on Duplex, where I could get under on rainy days. And so that was my memory of the first day of school.
And were you part of that same one?
I'm sorry?
Was your neighbor there part of the same first day of school?
Yes.
Yeah. Take over and you
But
talk a
I
little.
didn't start on the first day of school. I started first day in the new year, 1949. So it was the first grade though.
Go ahead.
My name is Richard Jackson, and I came to Spring Hill in January of 1942. That was 43 years before Saturn announced that they were coming to Spring Hill. And going through my dad's checks, I found this check that was written to Dr. George Williamson. He delivered me on January the 28th of 1942. This check is for $50. I'm a $50 baby. Today I live on my family farm. It's been in my family for 89 years, and I'm a next door neighbor to Alicia. We live out on Sugar Ridge Road.
Good afternoon. I made it my business to be on time, but Ann, who worked up under me for several years, knew I was never on time, and believe it or not, I was a attendance supervisor. I just couldn't make it. I had all intentions today to be here on time, but I knew I would be the last one or next to the last one coming in. So pray for me, because I worked for the school system for 43 years. I spent 25 years at the Board of Education and 18 in the classroom. I started up under Mr. Anderson Hughes. And every year in May, I hated to see it come. I had to leave my babies. I became so depressed because I had to leave my students. And I look forward to, we was coming to school back in September then. And I would look forward to coming back to school to get my babies. And I really, really enjoyed teaching. I enjoyed the central office. And Ann can tell you, when I started at the central office, they went through the whole Board of Education. and said, do you wanna do this job, or do you wanna do that job? We'll give it to Mary McKissack, and they gave it to me. I looked at, Mary, can I do this job? Well, they did. I said, I'm gonna do it. I might not do it the same way you all do it, but I'll get it done. And I got it done. I had about 9 or 10 responsibilities when I retired in June of 2015. I enjoyed teaching. I enjoyed the parents. But the worst experience that I had to ride the bus from over at Withorn to Akara Smith. They don't pay bus drivers enough. I mean, that's a job, 2 jobs in one. But I can talk all day long, and Ann will tell you about it. Okay.
I'm Ann Russell. I came to Spring Hill in 1956, married Bobby Russell, and have been here within 3 miles of where I started all the rest of my life. I have enjoyed it. Mary was an excellent boss, and I enjoyed working. And I enjoyed working for her. I lived on Beach Bluff Road and worked in Nashville for several years. Rode the Greyhound bus with Mr. George Scole and Mr. Well, they left me. To Nashville every morning and home every afternoon. They had a Greyhound bus that ran from Columbia to Nashville every day. And you were gone from 6 o'clock to 6 o'clock. But on weekends, I was here and enjoyed all of it. And there's been a lot of changes, but I'll let everybody else tell them along the way.
I'm Pat Campbell. I've lived here all my life. I'm 70 years old. Several generations before me were here. We have farms out off Sugar Ridge Road, about a mile down from Richard and Alicia's. And we grew up in one of the most perfect locations in the world. And it's changed a whole lot, but I hope it's still close to that. That's about all I know to say, so I'll pass it on.
So you want your history of my life?
Well, we're looking for your relationship to Spring Hill. What were you doing, and from what perspective did you see things?
Well, I was born in Nashville, but my mom and her family are from Spring Hill. And we moved back to Spring Hill in '52. And it was just a little one-horse town, dirt roads everywhere. And I was raised in an area called Newtown, right off Duplex Road on Alex Drive now. It wasn't called Alex Drive at that time. And, the gentleman on the end mentioned Haskell Taylor. I really liked him and his wife. We used to strip tobacco for them. And they were what we called at that time nice white people. Everybody wasn't nice to us back in the day. I'll be 81 tomorrow, so that was a while ago. I was a teenager. And Pat's parents, especially his mom, very nice white people. But anyway, I am a member of the
Church of Christ over in Newtown, and it was established, I think, back in 50 or 52. And I've been secretary over there for 39 years. And it's right on Duplex Road. I married when I was 15, had a child when I was 15. This is Bridget, my oldest. So proud of her. I went to school at Carver Smith in Columbia. Well, first I went to school at what was called a color school on Macklemore. And I went to the 8th grade there, which when I came from Nashville, I was in 2nd grade. And then the next year at Spring Hill, they put me in 2 grades. So when I left there, I was young, younger than normal, going into high school. And we had to ride the bus to Columbia from Spring Hill, off Duplex Road. And I mean, we thought we were living good. And then, just say when Saturn came, everything changed. I remember, I was so excited. We had a McDonald's. I was one of the most excited people. Ooh, McDonald's coming to Spring Hill. That was a big deal. A big food line back there. We had no trouble with traffic. My husband and I moved out on Greensmill Road when Bridget was 5. And we've been there, ever since. But I remember the kids used to just play ball in the road, We made to see a tractor, couple of pickups, maybe a wagon pulling hay or something a few times a day. But they would be out there playing. Now I can't back out my driveway. It has really changed, but it's all for the good.
Keep the mic if you don't mind for a minute. I have a question for you. When did people stop having to take the bus to Carver Smith in Columbia?
When did you start? Okay, 64. They could still go in 64. But they could also go to school in Spring Hill in 64. But they gave them an option of an extra year. But Bridget, she was she's the only black kid that started from kindergarten in 64. Her father refused to send her anywhere else. He said, the door's been open, and that's where she's going, because I was scared. I'm not gonna lie about that. I should be mistreated, but she was. So it was around 6, I think the bus stopped going in 65. And the school was totally integrated in Spring Hill School.
In many southern communities, this was the big thing, because the school was the center of everything, of almost everything for the whole community. In a previously segregated environment, this was like the world had changed in some ways. Very awkward, like what to do. How was it for any of you in Spring Hill when that happened? When all of a sudden, what had been a familiar, everybody knows where the lines are, everybody knows what to do, and all of a sudden you don't quite. How did it affect you? You can just pass it on down. Let's see.
I can't say it really affected me a whole lot. We farm, we had lots of black people around us all our lives, and some we would visit with them, and they would come visit with us some. So I can't say that it really impacted us a lot. I remember one of the first black boys that was in my class was Danny Smith, Scoob's son, and we were pretty good buddies. Scoop was, I guess he's one of the first ones that I did any work outside of home for as a
Hillians.
Scoop was his English daddy, wasn't it?
Right.
Yeah, Scoop was one we started with.
Excellent on them, I'd like to hear more.
I didn't see a problem with it. Our oldest daughter started in '69, and she had blacks in her room, and we always got along fine. We had darkies living on the farm, uh, everybody did almost. We killed hogs with darkies. They dried up our lard, they worked in our homes, and I loved it. I loved it a lot. Mary, I worked with her. Margaret, we worked together.
You were a bus
But nobody
driver,
had a
weren't you?
problem then.
Weren't you a bus driver
Yes,
at one point?
yes.
You were too. Did you find driving a bus changed anything?
No, not really.
Uh,
And I think one of my bus students was your mother. Is that right? Mary?
Yeah, that's my daughter.
Oh, okay. And, we had no problem. In fact, I had a black boy that was the last to get off the bus. He raised my bus windows every afternoon for me. And, I mean, we just got along fine.
I was talking and I didn't even introduce myself. I'm Mary A. McKissack Carter. And we stripped tobacco from Mr. and Mrs. Taylor. And Miss Taylor could, ooh, you talking about some food? It was delicious. She could cook. And that was the best part of my day. We'd go strip tobacco, but I was looking for that table because that lady could cook. And I worked with Mr. Allen in the school system also. And we, we had some problems. Well, we didn't have no problem with the black-white issue. I was just happy to get off the farm. Didn't have to run after cows and pigs and hogs and all that. Daddy had us out there chopping supposed to been corn, and I was chopping them more corn than I was weeds. And most of you all probably knew my brother. They called him Bill, and he was son, and he was the town drunk. And he couldn't stand me because he said I tried to make him mad. He claimed my sister, but he didn't claim me. But that's all right.
Integration didn't affect me because I graduated in 1960. And so, I never got exposed to that, but in my public works, I worked with people of different skin of mine, and I never had a problem anywhere.
Well, pretty much the same for me. Of course, we moved to our first farm over near Bell Buckle, so I would come back and forth to spend summers with my granny. I'm really thankful for the Lee family in particular because that was the first time I'd ever been around any black people, is when Papa would bring in the workers in the morning for breakfast, because he did get an old Chevrolet truck, and he could go over to Newtown, fill that truck up in 5 minutes, and be back early, and Granny would have a table that was just weighing down with biscuits, gravy, slabs of smokehouse bacon that she'd cut off that morning, or ham, and then everybody go do hard work, and a lot of times I'd join them, and then at lunchtime, oh me, I can still see it. That table was weighed down with. She had a big garden. She'd go out and she'd gravel her some new potatoes. That's called graveling. Go steal some out from under the potato keep growing for the summer. And she'd have beans and corn and you just name it. She put on a fried chicken. She had a lot of chicken. She'd go wringing necks early and scalding feathers, and I'd get to help pull them off. And those are good memories. I just wouldn't give anything for him. And I love Bill. Everybody called him son, but I called him Bill. And when my first baby was born, Bill showed up at my house. It's the yellow house on Burt Road. It was a brown house then. He came knocking on the door, and I said, Bill. He said, I brought something for your baby. And he pulled it out of the sack, and he brought me a little wren, one of those little wren chickens, a little hen, and a rooster. And he said, I want to give these to him. And so we made a cage for him, and that was his gift to us. And one day he came to my house. He was so shook up. What's the matter? He said, all that food you gave me, had to make space in a freezer, and I'd given him a bunch of good frozen stuff. He said he put it in a refrigerator up there where old Mr. Porter lived, and somebody that was staying with there came in there and stole it all. And he was so upset. He said, I just whooped the black out of it. He was so shook up. I had to calm him down. I love Bill. I just think about him all the time.
I understand athletics was pretty big here. Go Red Raiders, the way that went. Yeah. Anybody that football? I think I can remember this one too. The football team is the whole community kind of comes into on typically Friday nights to see these games, and it's sort of their point of pride. Talk a bit about football or any other athletic event you might like to know about. How it affected you if you were a student, if you were a parent, if you were just somebody in town that wanted to go to the games. How important and in what way did football or another athletic sport affect Spring Hill? Maybe keep it down there with you.
Well, I only went to Spring Hill through third grade, and then we moved away. And but I can remember we'd go for recess. We had some terrific games. I remember the big boys were playing softball early before school one morning, and one hit a big hit a line drive, and all I had time was just to do this. The ball smacked me right here, and I wasn't able to move my hand for about a month. And same big boys, I have to say this. They would say, now you be very careful. You be good in class because Mr. Marvin Wright has got an electric paddle in his office. Electric paddle. Yes, yes. And then he plugs that thing up, and you better sit up and fly right. So I did.
I played sports when I was in high school. Played basketball and football. I played basketball for 4 years, and then football I only played 2 years because they were having a hard time filling the team. And coach said if I didn't play football, I couldn't play basketball. I played football for 2 years, and we never won a game. I remember at our athletic banquet, Mr. Wright told us, he said, you may not have won a game in the last 2 years, but you kept Spring Hill from losing their football program. And it wasn't many years they won the state championship.
My son was on the state championship, but he didn't catch a ball. He always had a pass in and coming back out. He never got to play. So he kept the bench warm.
My husband played football at Spring Hill High School for 3 years. His 4th year, he had appendicitis on Sunday and didn't get to finish his senior year. But it was a big thing. Everybody went to the football games. It was just the thing you did. And the basketball, I don't know much about Spring Hill we were in school for 12 years with our children. And it was a big, big thing.
I played during the Spicker years, and we had one terrible year, one fair year, and two pretty good years. But one of the things that I remember about it, tell you a little bit about the community, we had summer practice before school started, and there were two or three of us who would drive tractors to practice. We'd come straight from the field and go to ball practice. So our first game was always David Lipscomb, so we got the name Plowboys, and I guess that stuck with us for a long time.
Championship.
I had some nephews that played football here in Spring Hill. And some of my husband's cousins, and they have had great memories. But when I was going to school, my husband had to play down there at Carver Smith in Columbia because the schools were integrated. And it's always been a big thing over there in Newtown where I was raised. We had every weekend we had baseball games over there, and people would come from all around to the baseball games. And Mary and I and some more, even Bridget, when she got a little older, we played on a softball team that was called the Invaders, and we were pretty bad. I mean, good bad. We were hard to beat. And Mary, because she was so fast and running, my husband was our coach, and he would just let her bunt because she could always outrun the ball to first base. So that was our enjoyment. And over in Newtown, it was just like a separate community. We even had juke joints over there. When we got older, Mary and I owned one together. My husband put us in business. And then after about 3 years, we got tired and we gave it back to him. That's about it.
Do I remember correctly hearing something about the Spring Hill football field being not level and having a home advantage distinctly because of that? Is that right, Pat? You're not.
It was not level, and they got the experiment station to come and try to re-level it, and it helped a lot, but I don't know, there was a home advantage because at halftime you turned around and went the other way.
Pass it down, please.
Mr. Jackson, are you related to Mrs. Jackson that ran the store?
Here's my uncle.
Your uncle? Okay, we ride the bus to school every day. The bus driver would stop there for us in the morning and he'd stop in the evening. And we go in there and buy a little 10 cents worth of crackers and bologna or whatever.
I remember a time in Spring Hill when the football game was played in the afternoon because they didn't have a lighted field.
I'm just laughing because Miss Margaret's great granddaughter is here sleeping away. Y'all can't see that.
I remember a time when the football games in Spring Hill was played in the afternoon because they did not have lights on the field.
You mentioned there wasn't much in the way of traffic. You talked about people playing in the streets. I read an account of somebody driving through Spring Hill some time ago, not mentioning any traffic problem at all. And yet that's about much of what anybody worries about today. And yet we had Route 31 coming through the town. And that was before the interstate came in, the major artery running from Alabama up into Kentucky. Was it only 31 was the problem, or were there problems anywhere else, or was there just no problem at all with the traffic in Spring Hill that far back?
No problem. No problem at, no problem at all back then. We didn't have, 5 or 6 people in one house and each one had a car. Sometimes we didn't have cars at all, but no, there was no traffic problem. Plus, we had the Greyhound bus to go back and forth. Now we don't have that either. That's the way we travel back and forth from Nashville to Spring Hill to visit was on the Greyhound bus before we moved here.
As men got, if they didn't have any crops to work on, they'd hang out at Mr. Birch's Esso station up there and congregate. And they thought my grandpa, Papa, they thought he had spent too much for his property, for his farm. I think it was 15,000, and they called him High Pockets. Here comes old High Pocket. And but there seems like on Sundays when there wasn't much to do but loiter around the Esso station, they would observe the traffic, and they would come home. He would come home exclaiming, "Oh, you should see those cars from Alabama. Every car from Alabama is a really nice car." And that was the conversation. That's what they had to do, watch the cars coming through. And that was before they had a stoplight. And then we got a stoplight, and then we had Barney Fife
I remember a time, like Danny just said, we didn't have those stoplights. We had a caution light. And then we got two red lights, you might say. One was up there in front of the co-op or the Methodist church, and the other one was in front of where Jimmy's Cleaners is today, or Watson's Cafe. Edward's Gulf Station. Only had the two there. But they turned them off at 10 o'clock at night. There was no traffic. You could drive all the way to Columbia, and you would see 5 cars at that time of the night. Jokingly, I heard someone say recently that Spring Hill does not need a speed limit sign because you can't speed.
Today, my daughter and I were at Walmart, and coming out, we saw a car from California, Georgia, Ohio, and then one in front of me was from Oklahoma. That's just within minutes. My kids used to ride their bicycle clear over on Bird Creek Pike and all the way out Keeter Road. I didn't worry about them. Well, mainly because I didn't know they were gone. Beyond our limit. And I mean, you just didn't worry about your kids like you do now. I wouldn't let them out of my sight now if they were that age. So it was, you didn't have traffic at all. And the west side of town stayed on their side, and the east side stayed on their side because, as Margaret said, nobody had cars. Every teenager didn't have a car. You had to use your mom and dad's car, and if they were busy on date night, you double dated or triple dated because the boys didn't have cars like they do now. So it's just makes a big difference all around.
This used to be a pretty big truck route, didn't it, though? I mean, since 31 was the major route? Is that not a problem?
It actually would take you all the way to Indianapolis, because my grandfather lived in Indianapolis. And we was in an old truck, about 5 of us, trying to go to Indianapolis to see Granddaddy. And we called him Granddaddy P. But we stayed on 31, we stopped all up and down the road, because they had little stations, I don't know what they call them now, go buy a spread, or you can go buy different stuff, food, and the one I like the best was the food.
I just wanted to share a memory. I had lunches at school were, I believe, 75 cents a week, and mom and dad would give me $1, and I'd get a quarter back. And I went uptown to the store. I forget the name of the family that had the original grocery store up there on the corner, underneath Dr. Woodard's. Okay. And one day I was up there and I saw a Daisy BB gun, and it was going to be $5. Of course, I didn't have $5, and so I made a deal with them that every week I'd bring that quarter and pay for that BB gun. And I got it paid off, and it was a good lesson in life. You know, I enjoyed that BB gun.
And by the way, you can talk about Barney Fife if you want to.
When a longtime resident who moved here in '72, wish she was here with us tonight. When she moved here, she thought his name really was Barney Fife. Barney.
So you're telling me you had one police officer in Spring Hill?
Two.
Two?
Tell us about Richard.
Okay.
Can you give us the year, kind of roughly the year you're talking about when you tell your story?
The first policeman I remember was Mr. Lewis Harper.
What's the year? What year?
It would be in 1948, 50, somewhere along there. And Spring Hill didn't have a police car, so he just walked in the downtown area. The second policeman I remember was Mr. Rush, who was about 5 foot tall. The third one I remember was Mr. Vick, who used his personal automobile as a police car. But it was the late, I'd say in the early 1951s, 50s, 52, 53, but it was a green Chevrolet pickup truck with a light and submarine on it.
I want to ask you what, but did any of you have any other observations or experiences with the police? I don't get, you don't have to get too detailed here. Maybe it's a good thing you didn't hear.
Can someone tell us also about Richard Lincoln?
She asked Richard. Richard was our first black policeman, and he was raised, or I was raised around him pretty much. And when I left Spring Hill to college at Tennessee Tech, I turned 21. That would have been 1974 or 5. And I decided I wanted to buy a handgun. So I went down to the sheriff's office in Putnam County and put in the application and everything. And I'm sitting there in front of the dispatcher, and I heard Richard come on the radio on the scanner there. And I motioned to the dispatcher there, and I said, "Yeah, that's a policeman in my hometown. He's known me ever since I was born." So he got on the radio. He said, "Spring Hill, can you come in?" Richard responded and talked to him for a few minutes. He said, "Well, Spring Hill, I've got one of your boys here." Said, "I need to know something about him." Said, "Who is it?" He said, "His name's Pat Campbell." Richard said, "Lord, what's that boy done now?" Well, that was my permit.
Did the opening of I-65 make a difference? I mean, they did I-65 in segments, you know, a little here, a little there. It was 1964, I think, they finished a stretch from Columbia to Franklin, and Spring Hill did not have an exit. So now you can go from Columbia all the way up. Is this causing anybody any problem? Are you missing, is it the problem a lack of traffic rather than more traffic? And how does that impact the community, not having all this passing through? Anybody want to try that one?
remember when the 4-lane highway between Spring Hill and Columbia was built. And that was in the early 50s, and really there was no reason to build it, except Marshall lived there, and Stans had a lot of political clout, and they got it built. But it was a good thing that that happened, because what would we be like today if it wasn't there? But back to the 65 interstate, I worked for Stans when I was about 15 years old, and that was before the interstate. That was Stan's Restaurant here in Spring Hill. And I've seen as many as 30 or 40 tractor trailer trucks parked on that parking lot back there in the back. They had a bunkhouse where they could go and shower and whatever. And then they had a place where they could sleep over at night if they wanted to. So it was a big thing for Stan. And once the interstate came, Stan moved out to Bear Creek on the interstate. Now,
That's where that hole is down here, where Stan's was, where David is now.
I stayed was there today. I've got, when I worked at Stan's, I've got my pay stub and meal tickets when I worked there. I worked for $3 a day and worked 6 days a week. And I must have got a little raise because this pay stub says $22.50. Now, for the meal ticket, I was allowed $1 to eat whatever I wanted. And
By the way, there's a picture of Stan's right behind Benny. It's an Art Deco, beautiful building.
where was
At the Twice Daily,
where Twice Daily?
the Twice Daily, gas station now.
To give you an example of what prices were like back then, here's a meal ticket. I had chicken salad for 35 cents, a bacon, lettuce, tomato for 30 cents, and chocolate milk for 20. That's 85 cents. But I was allowed $1, so I had banana pudding for 15 cents.
I've been hearing a good bit about Stan's. Anybody got any good stories about Stan's? While it was here?
It was a great place to eat. It was just unreal food they had.
Bill Hall, who used to be on WSM Weather, he worked at Stan's many years ago. He was raised on Beach Rock Road. And he was a really nice guy, black guy.
His
None
brother
of you know
Charles
who Bill
worked there
Hall
also.
was. And, he worked there for, I don't know how long. And Stan's was just a big truck stop and really good. Had, machines you could put money in at the table to play up the jukebox. And everybody comes to Stan's.
Hey, Ann, wasn't there kind of a special table at the back of Stan's?
They probably did.
I think I heard something about a round table that they would,
There was a round booth in the corner.
and that's where some of the men in town would gather and, tell tales.
Probably, and then they had a little front side room to the left of the main entrance.
I heard someone say, and I might be wrong, that there was a jar in the middle of that table and they would charge somebody a penny if they got caught in a fib. So at this stage, if there's pennies raining down from heaven, we know exactly what table it's on.
Were there any other places, you mentioned Stan, you want to say something, go ahead.
About Stan's, they had, on the, south side of Stan was called the Black Part. And that's where we had to go to eat. And, a lot of black people worked at Stan's, cooks and dishwashers. My husband used to work there, my mom worked there, and different people from the Newtown community worked at Stan's. But, during segregation, we had to go to that back part. And those people, if you didn't have money, they fed you anyway. Come on in and eat. But I don't know if Mr. Stan knew what was going on or not. But, yeah, that was
Okay, I was gonna ask you about some other places.
The only other place as far as eating was at Watson's Cafe. And, they're on the corner of McLemore and Main Street. And it was there for years and years and years and years, and just excellent food, home cooked food, and the best hamburger you ever eat in your life. They had this big grill, and they'd open up the bun, put it on the back, and fry the hamburger, and the grease was splatter the bun. And the beauty part about it, when we were teenagers, we would go up there late and after our dates or whatever, go in there, and instead of throwing the pies away, they would give us the pies. And we congregated there a lot and enjoyed their food. And they, a lot of the football players and everything would go up there, and if someone didn't have money, they didn't make any difference. They'd feed you anyway. They were great people that run that restaurant.
We're getting near the end of our time. Do we have any question cards? Anybody fill them out? Okay, can somebody? Yeah, I can come get it.
Miss Mary and Miss Margaret, while Tom's doing that, would you talk a little bit about the great food establishment in Newtown, please? Yeah.
Well, we didn't have a name for it, but I have a cousin that would come around and he nicknamed it the Greasy Pig. We did short orders, hamburgers, cheeseburgers, hot dogs. We sold beer, and cokes and stuff, you know. You could sneak and sell beer, whiskey, or whatever back then. So, yeah. And they danced. We had jukebox. And then they had another one up the street. Same thing.
Thank you, ma'am.
Got a question about the football field. Before the new school was built, where was this football field? Question is, where was the football field before the new school was built? Yeah, right next to the high school.
It's where that mini store, place is today. That was the football field.
And that's,
That's at the old school.
yeah, School Street in McLemore.
Yes.
Between Walnut Street and School Street.
Okay, so I'm getting a couple of questions about the tornado. You know, that's one of the big significant things that happens in Spring Hill. I know some of you got memories of that. So,
Okay.
where's the mic?
I'll do that.
All right, you got the mic.
The tornado happened at 11:55 on January the 10th, in 1963. And if you go out this entrance on the far side, there's a umbrella rack there that I put together that has the newspaper clipping the following morning. It gives a story of the tornado that came through. But I was playing independent basketball that night, and we had an away game, and I came home about 11 o'clock. And my mom was still up, and I told her, I said, we're fixing to have a storm. I hear it rumbling out in the distance, and it's too hot for January the 10th.